To be chosen for an experiment of this magnitude, you must first be worthy. Then your past history must align with the requirements of the procedure. You may be considered a good person in the eyes of many, but if you were never a physical specimen, then you would get passed on. In comparison, if you were top of your class in physical achievements and lived a life full of activities demanding of your body, but your attitude was poor and you were mean to others, then you too would be passed on. Dr. Kallen was the creator of some of the Galaxy Federation's greatest medical enhancements, technological advancements, and military weaponry. The tech used in outposts across the galaxy to monitor threats and keep tabs on questionable allies was one of her creations. However, despite her achievements and accolades, none came close to Project Starlight. The body of the man who would become known as Kai was the type of specimen Kallen was looking for. Still unsure exactly where he came from. The Galaxy Federation found his body frozen on a cargo ship that they confiscated. Whoever froze Kai must have done it to save his life, because Dr. Kallen found some complications in his bloodstream, as well as damage done to his nervous system. Once Kai was brought in and presented to Dr. Kallen, everything changed. The Galaxy Federation gave her full permission to carry out Project Starlight because if Kallen was successful, it would change everything for the Galaxy Federation and the future of their operations. It was far from an easy process and took months for Kallen to figure out. She had to make sure her ideas would work before they even attempted to open up the case keeping Kai alive. When she was sure her experiment would succeed, they unfroze Kai. In order to save Kai's life, Kallen had to rework almost his entire body. Dr. Kallen often described it as a complete shame considering the physique Kai had before the transformation. But turning him into a cyborg was necessary. This process took Kallen years to perfect, and she spent almost every minute of every day with Kai, tweaking parts of him here and there. She didn't want to mess with anything inside his head, but she had no choice. The complications within Kai's body spread to his brain, so Kallen was forced to make modifications. These modifications were of the most interest to the Galaxy Federation because they realized they could then program Kai to be the ultimate soldier. Dr. Kallen fought them on this at first, but the Galaxy Federation threatened to take her off the project if she didn't comply. She considered Kai to be her own child, so she did not want to be separated from him. She took every precaution to make sure the programming was safe and wouldn't harm Kai in any way. Once Kai was up and running, they began to do a lot of testing. To their surprise, he knew how to fight, but not just basic hand-to-hand combat or self-defense. Kai was possibly the greatest fighter in the universe. They had seen nothing like it. Even without the robotic parts kicking in, Kai had some of the fastest reflexes they had ever seen. He was proficient in most weapons, including artillery, but the sword was his weapon of choice. He took a liking to samurai-style katanas especially. As Project Starlight reached new heights, the Galaxy Federation felt ready to send Kai on his first mission. Kallen prepared him for it and programmed what the Federation wanted, but a week before the mission, the powers that be in the Galaxy Federation took Kallen off the project. She fought back against them for this. She didn't understand their reasoning for taking her off the project, but they explained that they were afraid she had become too attached to Kai, whom they had now given the name, the Starlight Samurai. Kallen felt this thinking was absurd. She knew Kai the best, whether she was too attached to the project or not. For them to send him out on a single mission without her there to support would be a big mistake. Despite her best efforts, they wouldn't budge on the matter. Kallen believed they wanted her off the project so they could program Kai to do their dirty work, something that Kallen would disagree with and fight against them about. Months passed and Kai became what the Galaxy Federation wanted. Dr. Kallen would oversee minor projects during Kai's success, but they no longer gave her the freedom she had before. Despite being their greatest doctor and scientist at this point, they refused to use her properly. As Kallen heard more and more what they were using Kai to do, she could no longer stomach being associated with the Galaxy Federation. She made her way to the main offices to put in her resignation. On her way there, she saw Kai passing in the hallway. She stopped to admire her work, but noticed bruises and marks all over Kai's body. She went to approach him, but he didn't even acknowledge her presence. The Galaxy Federation must have wiped his memories, even his memories of her. This devastated Kallen and reassured her that quitting the Galaxy Federation was the right thing to do. Life after working for the Galaxy Federation was strange for Dr. Kallen. These projects were how she spent all of her time. She had no hobbies outside of work. She had no friends, and any family she had she didn't want to interact with. The Galaxy Federation gave her a very generous severance package, even though she was the one who chose to quit. This was probably because the Galaxy Federation wanted Dr. Kallen to keep quiet about the projects she worked on while there. Despite her success, the lives she saved, and the money they gave her, Kallen felt empty. She missed Kai and the process of helping him get back on his feet. Her baby had become a killer thanks to the Galaxy Federation's missions, and she wanted nothing more than to right her wrongs. A task that would be easier said than done. She used the money given to her to hire expedition crews that would work under the galaxy's radars. Keeping a low profile was easy when Kallen knew all of their schedules and how to negate the effects of their tech and tracking systems. The questionable individuals that she hired for this task brought her many potential specimens, most of which she knew just by looking at them would not survive the process she put Kai through. She thought for sure she would never find a specimen that could live up to the standards that Kai set, but to her surprise they found a similar person frozen on a cargo ship, just like the one they found Kai in. This person was a female, though it appeared as if her genes were spliced with a feline of some sort. Cat ears instead of human ones, and a tail she could see through the casing used to keep her frozen, were the most notable appearance changes taken from the feline, while the rest of her looked like a normal human. Kallen paid the people she hired and told them that she may no longer need their services. She ran many tests on the specimen and was shocked to see many differences between her and Kai, though the differences weren't as negative as she expected. This person had a different disease than what Kai had, and the fixes she would need to make would be minor in comparison. Due to these changes, she was able to speed up the process and unfroze the specimen way sooner than she did Kai. While Kai needed to be named, this casing had Cynthia written on the side. Waking Cynthia up was easy, though she took a bit longer to adjust to things than Kai did. In a few weeks, Kallen got Cynthia situated with her new life and made modifications to her body as necessary. Nothing as severe as what she had to do for Kai, but there were still some changes that had to be made. Cynthia didn't seem to mind, she was just happy to be awake again. She told Dr. Kallen all types of stories about her past, and it made Kallen glad that the Galaxy Federation wasn't involved. This meant that she could leave Cynthia's memories intact, and as she remembered things she could share them. Cynthia shared many stories but had trouble remembering her youth. She recalled a man in her life that may have been her father that would often tell her how proud he was of her, but she couldn't remember his face or his name. She recalled being in a war of some kind, and it made sense once Kallen started running physical tests. Cynthia was almost as good as Kai when it came to combat. While Kai was slightly faster with his attacks and movement, Cynthia was much more agile, most likely due to the feline DNA. Dr. Kallen let Cynthia do most of the sharing for the first few months of their relationship, but eventually Kallen began to tell Cynthia of her son, who had gone astray, and her need to save him. Kallen wasn't physically fit to do it herself, but she suggested that Cynthia might be able to help her in exchange for Kallen saving her life and waking her up. Cynthia agreed to help, and Kallen began to put the plans in motion to stop Kai and save him from the Galaxy Federation. All Kallen wanted now was to make Cynthia into the hero Kai could have been.